Hello, and welcome to the News in a Hurry for February 21st, 2013.
I'm Travis Volker, and this is my co-host, William Sixth Sense Welch. Leading off with your weird news, Matt Damon says he won't go to the bathroom until everybody has access to clean water. When asked if he would go in the pool because he wouldn't go in the bathroom, he then responded, "You're the reporter, you do the math."
Moving on to health and science. In the wake of Friday's meteorite crash in Russia and the near miss of the asteroid, scientists are taking action. Both NASA and private contractors have laid out plans for early warning systems to detect asteroids close to Earth. One such plan is a series of telescopes to be built in Hawaii, which would give 1 to 3 weeks warning of an incoming asteroid.
A team of scientists at Duke University have given lab rats a sixth sense. They wired infrared sensors to the rats' sense of touch using tiny electrodes. At first, the rats were simply confused and scratched at their nose with the new stimuli. After a month, though, the rats could correctly identify an infrared light which was invisible to them.
Also notable in this is that the augment did not affect their standard sense of touch. This indicates that the brain can interpret sensory information in an area that is normally designed to do something else. The discovery gives hope to the possibility of restoring sight in a human with a damaged visual cortex.
Linda Ackley, a Michigan resident, arrived at a hospital thinking she had a hernia, only to find out she was pregnant. The woman, who was previously told she couldn't have children, arrived at the hospital to receive the surprising news. After they found out she was pregnant, a couple scans revealed she was at full term, and an emergency C-section was done to deliver the baby. A doctor who works at University Hospital's Case Medical Center in Cleveland said, "Unknown pregnancies are more common than you would think. They typically occur in young women who are in denial."
A paper to be published in a scientific journal may shed some new light on dark matter. The paper will contain the first published results of the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, a particle collider mounted on the outside of the International Space Station. A spokesperson said little about the content of the paper, but said that the results bear on the mystery of dark matter, and that the paper was rewritten 30 times before the authors were happy with it.
A research study done in Norway indicates a possible link between folic acid supplements in early pregnancy and a reduced risk of childhood autism. Researchers note that folic acid had no effect on atypical or unspecific autism. Still, this is good news as it may pave the way for further studies searching for possible causal mechanisms. The Norwegian Directorate of Health recommends starting folic acid supplements early in pregnancy, preferably prior to conception. Prenatal supplements typically contain folic acid, and it is also available as a standalone supplement.
Next up, news in the U.S. U.S. Airways and American Airlines agreed to a merger last week. If the merger occurs, it will create the United States' largest airline service.
There isn't a place imaginable that you can't get your fix. Starbucks has opened a fully functioning coffee shop on board the Navy warship USS Boxer.
The healthcare company, Johnson & Johnson, has been ordered by a court to pay $63 million in damages to a family. 10 years ago, the now teenager took children's Motrin to relieve a fever and suffered from an extremely rare side effect. The side effect, known as toxic epidermal necrolysis, caused her to lose 90% of her skin and be blinded. The lawsuit claimed that Johnson & Johnson failed to warn consumers of the potentially life-threatening side effect. Colorado has been hit by 2 of the deadliest mass shootings in history, so it may come as little surprise that lawmakers there approved a package of gun control measures late Friday. The approval was a voice vote, and must still pass a formal vote and make it through the state Senate before the bill gets to the governor. The bills would ban ammunition magazines with more than 15 rounds, require background checks for all gun sales, and allow college campuses to ban concealed weapons on campus.
A Delta Airlines passenger, Joe Hundley, will be facing federal assault charges. He allegedly slapped a fellow passenger's child while the plane was descending. Jessica Bennett was trying to calm her 2-year-old, who was crying during the flight's descent, which often causes trouble for young children due to the change in cabin pressure.
According to an affidavit by Miss Bennett, the man used a racial slur when he told her to quiet her child, and when she was unsuccessful, Hundley slapped her child, leaving a small scratch below the child's right eye. Airline attendants quickly separated the two and contacted the ground to have authorities meet them when they landed. According to witness statements, Hundley was intoxicated.
A natural gas explosion and the subsequent fire injured at least 15 people and destroyed a Kansas City restaurant. One female employee is still missing since the explosion on Tuesday evening, and cadaver dogs have found a corpse in the rubble of the restaurant, though authorities have yet to say if the corpse is male or female. The utility that supplies the area said in a statement that early indications are an underground work crew struck a gas line. A large construction project has been underway across the street for 7 years.
In news around the world, the Blade Runner, Oscar Pistorius, is jailed in South Africa as the suspect in the murder of his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, on Valentine's Day. Oscar's fame grew when he, a double amputee, raced on fabricated blades for South Africa in the 2012 Olympics.
A social 16-year-old girl in the UK has tested with an IQ higher than Einstein's. Her IQ test revealed a 161, which is 1 point higher than Stephen Hawking's, Bill Gates, and Albert Einstein. She aspires to be a performer in the West End. A rural area about 50 miles southeast of Rome was hit by an earthquake that measured 4.8 on the Richter scale. That area is known to be somewhat earthquake-prone. Fortunately, there have been no reports of injuries in this case.
A Sunni militant group claimed responsibility for a bombing in a Pakistan town recently. Now, thousands of Shiite women are refusing to bury the 89 victims of the bombing until the government brings those responsible to justice. A leader of an alliance of Shiite groups said that they stand firm in their demand that the city be turned over to the army and that operations be carried out against terrorists and their supporters. The Pakistani leaders are already under pressure from upcoming elections and many other problems like power cuts, corruption, and poverty.
North Korea threatened South Korea with final destruction during a debate at the UN Conference on Disarmament this week. North Korea says they can take second and third steps after last week's nuclear test.
Finally, in your feel-good news, in 2005, a 17-year-old Connor Rabinowitz was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, an incurable heart disease. He was told that he would die without a new heart. After 3 months attached to a mechanical heart, the young man was told a donor had been found. Another man, who had suffered a fatal head wound in an assault, would give him a new lease on life. After the surgery, Rabinowitz sent a thank you letter to the victim's mother, and they soon became pen pals. Then, later that year, Connor went to visit the mother in person. That was where he also met his donor's sister, Erin Roberts. Connor says he knew immediately that he wanted to be with Erin for the rest of his life. It wasn't until 3 years later that Erin realized she felt the same. Today they are still together and wear matching heart-shaped necklaces.
And that's all for your news in a hurry. You can find our show notes in the description if you'd like to learn more about a story.
To suggest a story, you can find our email below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the news in a hurry.